the cargo vault dividers, this one being the Tesla factory one. And then what just arrived in the box over here is from Teslovix. It's one of the aftermarket vault cargo dividers. So the first question you might have is what's different between something like this from the factory, from Tesla, or what's different from an aftermarket supplier? The biggest difference is, and if you have one of the early Tesla ones like I do, is that a couple of things. One, the feet on the bottom are not removable. These are riveted on, so unless you want to drill out the rivets and have absolutely no feet, the later ones from Tesla, they did have the ability to remove the feet, but these feet are not adjustable. You can't unscrew or screw them in and move them up or down to adjust the height of the vault. So what problem that sometimes causes is either just in the regular bed, that some people have found that their beds are very tight fit with these vault dividers, is that these pieces that slide in and out into the L-track here, those are supposed to lock in. You'll notice that when I pull up this here, this pulls in, okay? So you first pull it in and you set it down in the truck, and I'll show you in the truck here in a minute, and then you press this down to latch it in. The problem is that if it's too high, they won't latch in. And if you zoom in, maybe get a little bit closer here for me, you'll see that actually I've notched these. These were normally circles. I've notched these to try to make it easier to get into the bed. The other thing I've done is I've taken out the spring in here. I put in the different aftermarket smaller plastic piece that can go in there to help give it a little bit more play up and down. All of those things combined, it was still quite a problem to get this vault divider to lock in anytime that I had my cargo mat in. And again, we'll show that in a little bit. So let's move over here a second to the Teslovix unit, and you can see on the box itself how they notch up in the corner versus the factory one, and it has adjustable feet. So I'm assuming if we just open this box up here for a second and take a look at what this one looks like. Again, very, very similar. Comes with some nice instructions. Looks like they have even a little tool that you can use here to move those feet up and down. But it's the same sort of thing. I'm gonna take this out and show you. Looks like it's probably made in a very similar fashion to the factory one. In fact, we'll line it up right next to it. So, right here, let me put it in front so you can see this one versus the factory one. So this simply, just much like the factory one, like I said, I have it facing a different way, pull up and push down to push these in and out. Let's come over here and you'll notice, see, these have not been, I've not cut these, this is brand new out of the box, versus, here, you can see how I've had to cut these to try to make them fit. With, however, having the adjustable feet here, where I can raise and lower this off of the floor, I can get this down closer or all the way down onto the bed if there's a bed mat. So we're going to try that here in the truck in just a minute. Only other difference between these, where this is kind of notched out in the corner, slightly different here where it's not notched out. The other is the factory has the little Tesla silhouette logo on it. Can you see that from here? Tesla silhouette logo, and the aftermarket one is not going to have that Tesla silhouette logo on it. Otherwise, looks to be pretty much identical. The latching mechanisms inside, when I pull these up, the hardware and everything inside of here looks the same. The latches look the same. Wouldn't be surprised if these were made at the same factory, at some point, just with a slightly different revision. So we're going to go ahead and pause the video, then we're going to get into this. Okay, so here we are in the bed of the Cybertruck. We are just beyond the smuggler's bay at the beginning of the bed, where I have set the cargo divider, the vault divider down in here. I've tried to line it up with the little circles here in the L track. I have this up, which means these are brought in so I can get this about where I want it. And when I push down on this, so here we go, I'm locking into those circles. I kind of wiggle it a little bit and then push it all the way. So that's good. That's locked in. Hey, that works great whenever you are right here just beyond the smuggler's bay with the factory one, considering that I've trimmed the edges a little and made a couple of other little adjustments. And if you look at the bed of my truck, the only thing I have on here is the XPEL armor. So that's, that's thin. It's in terms of it's applied to it kind of like you would apply a sticker or something, but it's not thick like a cargo mat. And we're going to come back in here in a little bit and show you this with a cargo mat. But, to move this somewhere else in the vault, I could pull this up, then I would simply, have to tilt this thing out like so, and then I would take it further up into the vault, maybe somewhere up here if I want to put it up more near the cab. And what I have found, and some owners have found, is that when you get further up towards the glass, for whatever reason, it's a little bit harder to lock this in. So I'm going to try to get this lined up here. Let's see, right about, let's see, here, and get that lined up. Okay, I was able to get that lined up up here as well too. So in my bed, you know, I've taken my bed out, I put it back in, fastened everything down tight, you know, felt like I got myself a little bit more clearance when I did that. So for me, the factory one, again, will fit with the fact that I've trimmed the edges a little bit, made some adjustments in by the springs with the plastic piece, and I don't have a mat in here right now. So why don't we, in just a moment, we'll pause and I'll bring in the aftermarket one. We'll put it kind of in the same places and see how it fits before we take both of them out. And then we're going to put a bed mat in and see how both of them do with the bed mat. So with that, we'll go ahead and pause the video. Okay, so we're back into the back of the truck. I still have the factory one up front of the bed. Now I brought in the aftermarket one. So come in here a second and zoom in on this. So notice I've not adjusted the feet up or down. They're just all the way up as it is. I can obviously move those feet and adjust them. But I want you to look here. An immediate difference on the L-Track is that this is sitting lower. The other one sits way up high. In fact, you almost have to press it down to get it in there. This one by default sits lower in the truck. So I'm actually going to have to lift it up slightly, you know, to make sure that it lines up nice and neatly in the L-Track. So what I'll go ahead and do is I'll lock it into the L-Track first by closing this up. There we go here, and I'll do it on the other side. There we go. I've got both in the L-Track. Now notice how this aftermarket one here, it's not tight at the bottom. It would kind of swivel out, but that's great. That means we've got more clearance for things like bed mats. So then at this point, all I really need to do is spin these down until I have a nice tight fit. And I can do that obviously on both sides. Over on this other side as well. Give me a second over here. Spin that down. And again, you can use a little wrench tool to adjust it exactly where you want it. I'm just doing it finger tight. And now this one is in and it's locked in tight. So immediately it's clear that this unit sits up a bit higher than the factory one. That the factory one, even resting on the bed, is really at the top of the L-Track, and you don't have much more room to do expansion or to put anything underneath it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back in my garage. I'm going to get my cargo mat. I'm going to pull these out, put the cargo mat in, and then we're going to try to put each of these in on top of a cargo mat. So now we're back at the back of the truck here, and I have my cargo mat. Apologies, don't remember who this came from. I've had it for a while. And I'm going to go ahead and insert this into the truck. So you can follow me around. You can see this goes all the way in, all the way up to the front. It has kind of a folding area where if you want to get at the smuggler's bay down below, it will fold up and allow you to put stuff in here. But it immediately creates a little bit of additional height across the bed of the truck. So we're going to pause. I'm going to get the cargo dividers and show you the difference between them. Okay, we're back in the back of the Cybertruck. We have the mat in place, and we have the factory cargo vault divider here. And you can immediately see, look at this, that is above the L-Track because of the height, because these feet are not adjustable or not removable, because this base is actually down a bit lower. It is next to impossible. So, you know, having a little bit of play in these to allow them to come down, and that's what I did by having the plastic piece in there. That's what I did by trimming those. Even with that, right now, I still can't get that in. I just don't, you know, I would have to force it. And even if I got one side in, or if I tilted and got one side in, there's no way I'd be able to get the other side in. So if I try to latch this, it's not going to go. It's not going to go into any of those fittings. And that's all the way up front by the, you know, by the smuggler's bay. And like I say, some people find it more difficult the closer they get to the rear window. So from that standpoint, this factory one is pretty much unusable if you have any sort of cargo mat in place. So I'm going to pull the factory one out. We'll pause. I'll pull the factory one out, and then we'll go get the aftermarket one, put it in, and try it in the same place. So I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. We're back in the bed of the Cybertruck again, this time with the aftermarket vault cargo divider. And immediately, just by setting it down on top of the mat, so again, we have the mat in here now in the bed, even setting it down, I can see, hey, you know what? I still have some clearance. I can still bring this up and not be too high like I was with the factory one. So that being said, I will simply get that into place here. I want to line up the other over here in the same way, like so. So now I have those two lined up. Again, I still have a little bit of clearance underneath. Look how that moves. You don't want to have that clearance underneath and have that loose. So again, you'll simply want to come down here, spin these feet until the feet come down and make contact in a tight enough way. And again, you can use a little wrench. I'm just doing it by hand, you know, for the video to show here, and I'll do it on the other side real quick. So, you know, there's a lot of travel for these feet. I was surprised how much travel, in fact, that there is. So even if there were perhaps a thicker mat, or you had something else, I don't know what that might be, in your bed. I mean, I've got the XPEL armor and now a mat on top of that. I couldn't imagine people having anything any thicker. And then again, I can put those feet into place. That's locked in. I'll probably do this just a little bit tighter. There we go. Just so it sits up on that. So now the feet are resting on both sides. That's good and solid. It's locked in. I can certainly use that cargo divider to divide up my space. If I want to throw some groceries or something in here, keep the other part empty, or attach something to the MOLLE racks, I can absolutely do that. So again, much better fit than the factory unit when you are looking at using something like a bed mat or anything that's going to, you know, make the fit tighter. And keep in mind again that I had modified my factory one to get it to fit in just the regular bed without anything. And I know several owners have had to do that as well. So ultimately it comes down to, you know, if you're only going to buy one, which one would you buy? As much as I maybe like the Cybertruck logo or the fact that it came from Tesla from the factory one, it's simply not as good as the aftermarket one in terms of adjustability and flexibility for fit across the bed and in a variety of different situations. So if I was only going to buy one, I would buy the aftermarket one. Now that being said, when I bought my original Tesla one was when I bought my truck 2 years ago, and the aftermarket ones were not yet available. But I am glad that from sponsors like Teslovix, who provided this one for us to use for this video and testing, are out there selling these, because now you can get these at a reasonable price. Be sure and use the link to Teslovix's site if you want to order one of these yourself. Use our discount code TeslaKen to get an additional percentage off, and enjoy installing this into your Cybertruck. I'm Tesla Ken for the HaloCybertruck.com website. Stay tuned.